G'day guys, it's Nick from HobbyKing again. Okay, so you've seen the daily video, you've seen the product video, so now we thought we'd run you through some tips and tricks on using the printer. And also just give you an idea of how simple it is to use. So we'll run through using the web interface to control the machine, leveling the print bed, inserting the filament and also removing the filament, using the SD card to print, using the web interface to print, and then finishing and removing your prints. Okay, so let's get started. So inside the box, you'll find three essential things. One is a micro SD card, which not only holds your manual, it also has the Fabrikator software on there as well, and a couple of models. You'll also have a scraper for getting the print off the print bed. This is an essential tool because if you use a metal blade or a screwdriver or something hard, you can tear the PEI print surface. You can get spare ones, and I suggest you buy spare ones when you buy the printer, but they do last a long time if you look after them. The other thing you'll find is an Allen key, and that Allen key is really for leveling the bed on these screws here. So let's get started on setting up your printer. Okay, so now we're going to go through leveling the bed. Now this is a critical part for your printer. You don't have to do this all the time, but it's a good thing to check every 10 or so prints. To be honest, we haven't leveled this one in about 40 prints, so it probably is well out of whack. But we usually print with a raft, which sort of avoids the problem of the bed being out of whack a little bit. But you don't want it too far out regardless. So what you'll need for this is the Allen key that's in the pack and a piece of paper. Now I usually use Post-it notes because they're brightly coloured and easy to see. And also you can see if it's too tight because it marks the paper quite easily. The other thing to do is do this using the USB cable connector. The only reason I suggest this, you can do this using the web interface, but you want the laptop or computer close to your printer anyway, so you can see where things are when you move them. So the first thing we're going to do is home the printhead. So at the moment, the printer is not connected, so we simply hit connect up here. There we go, it's now connected. From this screen, you can control all the functions of the printer. So you can control the temperature, you can control the bed temperature, you can control the fan, turn it on and off, increase the rate of the fan, you can increase or decrease the feed rate of the filament, and of course you can control the axes, including the extruder and the Z-axis for up and down of the printhead. So what we're going to do is home all of the axes, so we're in the starting point for the printer. So just click here, this will give you home all axes. So as you can see, it takes a long time to reach its home position, so you're going to be waiting a little while. That's because the Z-axis is a slow move axis. Okay, so now that's reached its home position, and we're just going to go through and check the gap between the print bed and the end of the nozzle. Okay, so what we do is just put a little piece of paper underneath. Okay, so you insert the piece of paper underneath, and that is perfect. There's a little bit of grab to it, but I can move the piece of paper easily underneath there. Now what I'm going to do is move it around to each corner to make sure that each corner is the same. Now we'll just move that forward so we can level the front left corner. Now we click here to get the printhead to go to the front. Okay, so now we've got it at the front, we'll just check. And that's a little bit too loose, too easy to move around. Now if you happen to have one of these, a 2mm ball wrench, this will fit in really nicely into here and makes that job a little bit easier. So I'm just going to turn this about a quarter of a turn anti-clockwise and test it out again. It's a little bit too tight, so we'll go the other way, clockwise. And that's about right. Now we'll just do that for each corner and we'll be right to go. I'm pretty sure the others are fairly good, but we'll just move them over and check them out. Okay, so that's the bed level. Now, it doesn't have to be completely exact, so just so long as you get a similar sort of resistance at all four corners, and check the middle sometimes too, because sometimes the middle can bow a little bit in the plate, but that's why you print with rafts. So in your settings within Repedia or whatever program you're using, you'll have a raft setting, and you can use that to even out any bumps and lumps that you've got in the print bed. But as it is now, it's pretty good. Okay, now we're looking at the Malian Link software that you downloaded from the SD card that came with the printer. Now, once you click on this, you'll see this little icon come up down at the bottom right. Open that up. Now, that's your URL that you want to copy and paste into your browser. Now, from this screen, you can operate all the functions of the printer. Over here we can set the temperature. I'm just going to set that to 195. Click the tick and set the bed temperature to 50 and then click the tick, and you see the graph starting to move up as the bed and the extruder start to heat up. Now we can also move the printhead around from here. It's a little bit difficult when you can't see it, but it's good if you need to home it all. Just click on the Home All button and that'll bring the print nozzle back to its 0, position. Okay, so let's go through removing the filament. So you finished your print, you've taken it all off, and you want to change filaments to a different color because pink maybe isn't your thing. So the first thing we do is we get the printer back up to temperature so that your nozzle here is at the same temperature as the print was. This means that the filament will ooze through really easily. So push this lever on the extruder, that then releases the filament and allows you to push it through and push a little bit of filament through. Okay, so then pushing it through a little bit and then give it a quick pull back. So it looks really simple, but if you get it wrong, you'll block the nozzle and that creates a whole heap of work. You've got to undo it all and clean it all out. So the beauty of doing it this way is you're guaranteed that the filament's going to come out first time, every time. And what you end up with is a little tiny pointy end like that. That's exactly how you want it to come out. That means that there's a little bit of filament left in there, but that'll come out when you put the next load of filament in. So now we've got the machine heated up, everything's ready to go, so we want to insert our filament. Now, side cutters are a really useful tool when you're 3D printing. Makes this job so much simpler and quicker. You can do it with a blade if you want to, but side cutters are a much easier way of doing it. So what you want to do is cut a small angle cut. So you've got a tapered cut to feed into the print nozzle. This stops it from blocking up and it makes it much easier to insert. So we just simply snip off the tip at a slight angle like that. A nice sharp angle's really good. I always find it useful to give this a little bit of a straighten before you put it in. Then open up the lever and insert your filament. Now sometimes it can be a little bit quicker if you undo this screw here and push it through that way, but realistically it's not that difficult. Feed it through until you feel it hit a slight resistance like it has right now. Now If the nozzle is at the right temperature, the next push you give it will start pushing filament through the print nozzle. A little squirrely bit will come out. There we go. And then just pull off that dag of filament. And that's it. You're primed and ready to go. Now all you have to do is either insert your SD card to print or using the web interface to print. Now we're going to take this object, slice it and put it into the web browser and print directly from the web browser. So we make sure that the object's sitting flat on the surface, then go into the slicer, we slice it with Cura and we save it to file. Now it doesn't matter what we save this one as. Okay. Now go over to our web interface, grab that file and simply drag and drop it into the upload G-code here, this box. Now this works really well for small files. For larger files you might want to use an SD card. Depends on your Wi-Fi. Okay. So now we're just waiting for the bed and the print nozzle to hit temperature. Now this button here, you can increase or decrease the size of your graph, so you can see on a bigger picture how your temperature curve is going. And we're nearly there at 183. Heats up pretty fast and it cools down pretty fast too, just keep that in mind. Now we're going to home all just to make sure everything's in the right spot to start printing. And then when we're ready for it to go and everything's set, we'll hit start print. You could have started printing beforehand, but I like to know that it's going to print pretty much straight away. And that's it, the printer will stop itself. You can actually monitor the print status of your print by looking at the print status bar. And as the print goes along, that bar gets filled up with a blue line. You can cancel the print if something goes wrong from here, and you can also cancel it from the machine itself. So now let's go through using the SD card to print. Now we're going to take a file and we're going to get one that's a little bit too big for this size printer. That's okay because we can resize it in Repetia. So there you go, it's massive, way too big. Very simple to resize it. Just go into here and we'll make it about 40%, so 0.4. There we go, resized, done. That's already sitting flat on the bed, so that's all good. Now what we're going to do is go through and slice that. We're using the Cura engine slicer. And we need to go into the configuration. This is a spiralized print job, which means that as it prints, it's only printing the very finest perimeter. I'll just have a look in here, make sure that's all good. Yep, that's all good. The speed and the quality is all about right. So we're doing this at a 0.2 millimeters default quality. And we're doing it with no top infill. And it should be printing hollow. So we'll just go through and make sure everything is selected correctly. Yes. We don't need, with this print, we don't need to make a wipe tower or an ooze shield because it's just a continuous spiral. And now we're happy with that. So we simply click slice with Cura. Job is sliced, and as you can see, when you look inside it, it's hollow. Now, we're going to print this from SD card. So instead of printing, selecting save to file like we did before, we'll select save for SD print. Click on there. That's all correct. select the SD card. Whenever you're saving to the SD card for SD card printing, you need to select it as auto00.g. As long as you do that, as soon as you press the button, it automatically detects that file and will start printing using that file. This way you don't have to have a visual user interface. Okay, so we'll just click save on there. Okay, so you've just seen then that we've set up the print onto an SD card, and now we're going to print it just using the SD card. So no laptop required, you can just print it straight off the SD card. But what I have done to speed the process up a little bit is use the web interface to get the printer up to heat. So the print head is heated up and the print bed is heated up. So when I press start, it should just start to print pretty much straight away. Sometimes it might take a little bit longer to start printing if it's got to cool down or heat up a little bit to get to the correct temperature, but it will start printing pretty soon after you press the button. If you don't preheat the bed and you don't preheat the print head, it'll take a few minutes before that happens. So don't go pressing the button again, just give it time to start printing. The other thing to do is use a small SD card. It comes with a 2 gig SD card and it's already got the auto 00 G code in there. And you just keep on copying over the top of that file. If you try and use a big card like a 16 gig or an 8 gig card, it won't work. There's too much memory for it to go through and the machine just shuts down. So you need a really small card. So if you've got some old 516s or 1 gig cards lying around, perfect use for them. Okay, so let's just put it in. Goes in with the stripes facing up. Click it in. Then it's just simply a matter of pressing the go button. Okay, so we'll let that go to print, and when it's finished, we'll come back and show you how to take it off. Okay, so that print's finished. Now it's time to take it off. Just a couple of tips before you do take your print off. I tend to heat the bed up because it saves the PEI. So if the bed's heated up to 50 or 60, it just allows the print to come off a little bit easier. It doesn't really matter if you're using ABS or PLA or PETG, the principle applies. So let's just take this off. I don't think we're going to need the scraper for this one, but we'll just try and pry it off. Too easy. Right, and it didn't even leave a mark. Okay, there we go. Okay, sometimes you might need to use the scraper. So pretty much all you're really doing is just really gently getting it in there and just prying it off like that. And it should pop off pretty easily. A print with a big bed is going to be a little bit harder to peel off. But most of the time, if you heat the bed up, it comes off pretty easily. All right, so once you've removed your print, you may be left with a little shadow sort of mark on the PEI. All you really want to do with that is just take it off with maybe a bit of acetone, just to give it a nice clean surface. Also, if you touch it with your fingers or you get any sort of oils onto the surface, you want to get that off as well because your next print won't stick very well. But that's pretty much it. If you look after it, keep it clean, it'll keep printing it again and again and again and again. One other cool little tip is to vacuum it. What you find is you get little tiny bits of filament building up all over the place. If you keep those out of the inside of the printer, it lets it run really smoothly as well. Also, you can do really long prints on this printer because it's got active cooling underneath. You might be able to hear the fan blowing at the moment. Not only does it have a cooling fan on the printhead itself, but it also has a cooling fan over the stepper drivers underneath. So this fan underneath here is constantly going. It gives really good airflow. We've never had one of these machines overheat, and we print all day, nearly every day on these ones. That's it. So thanks for tuning in, listening to our little tips and tricks. I hope it's been of use to you guys. And remember, the details of this product are in the links below. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more great products, tips and tricks. See you next time.